Greetings and welcome to this part one of this little Trapcode Tao and After Effects session, where we're gonna try to recreate together something I created a while ago while I was beta testing the plugin. So bear with me. I'm probably not gonna be able to go through this without forgetting some crucial parts, so I'm probably gonna backtrack. I'm probably gonna backtrack a little bit. I'm sorry for that, but in my opinion, I think that true understandings really lies within the very process of making those errors and then trying to figure our way out of that. So hopefully you'll learn more stuff if you see me do that instead of if I go from A to Z without you seeing any of the pitfalls that I might fall in, or without even proving that those pitfalls even exist. So that's my little theory about that. So let's right away get into After Effects, and it's gonna be probably a two-part tutorial. In the first part, we're gonna learn how to sculpt our shape, and I call this sculpting because I think that Trapcode Tao, when you design when you generate paths with the lights, it really gives way for lots of possibilities creatively, and hopefully there is many ways that you can use it to create nice stuff and to sculpt nice organic things like that. So let's go in After Effects, and right away I'm gonna hit Command M to create a new solid, a new composition. I'm gonna call it Tao Neuron, and let's hit Command Y to create a new solid. Let's call this one Tao, and let's bring Tao up to here. And the first thing we want to do for this kind of look in the rendering, let's make it density. So that's how I used it. And in the segment, we want to repeat spheres, and we can have less of those for the beginning, and let's make it real small. So how we're gonna do this is we're not gonna use the generated path here. We're gonna create a spotlight that we're gonna call Tao, and make sure that it's a spotlight. You can set the cone angle to 0, but I think at this point it's a good idea to check if you have the default settings for everything, like intensity 100% and radius and fall off distance at 100%, because we're gonna use those. So let's make this. So let's hit Control, Shift, Alt, and Y to create a new null object, and let's make it 3D. And let's hit P to reveal the position, and let's copy the position. Let's select our Tao light, and let's hit Command V to paste. So now we're sure that our light is right at the center point. And we can create more nulls and make them all 3D. This one we're gonna call it Tao rotation. This one we're gonna call it Tao move, and this one, let's call it Tao control. So this one we're gonna use for rotations. This one we're gonna use to move one, and this one, this is the null we're gonna use to move our whole thing around. So first we want to make sure that in this section path from Tao lights, we want to make sure that we are picking up the size from the radius property of our Tao light. And now we can start sculpting. So let's connect our light to the rotation to the move, and the move to the control. And perhaps we'll color code that. So this is our Tao system in its entirety. Let's pick up our light and let's move it 55 pixels to the right, and let's hit R to reveal the rotation property for our Tau rotation null object, and let's create a keyframes on X and Z rotation. Let's go to frame 30, and let's have it rotate twice on X and minus once on Z. And I think also it's a good practice up to this point to create unused keyframes on the Tau light, and we're gonna always move this one up to the point we're at. So let's hit Command Alt front slash to refresh the cache memory, and here we have our little rotation going around. So this is what we're creating along the path, and at this point perhaps we can hit A twice on our light to reveal its options, and for the radius we can make it real big, like let's make it 600 first, and can add more sides to have more spherical spheres, if that's one way I can say that, but we don't want to increase that too much for the moment, because as we work we want to keep our render time as reduced as possible. So that's gonna be our core for our little neuron object. Next we want to create some tendrils, so we're gonna use the move and all that we've got here, and let's hit U. So right after our little rotation there, let's create a keyframe on the position, and let's go 20 frames further than that, and let's move it around the side there, and let's make sure that we play around with the handles here to make it wavy and squiggly, because that's the way every tendrils tends to be naturally. And we can also go in the top view to make sure that it's not going straight. We want it to go from every direction as much as possible. And let's also bring our little like this guy is gonna be the guy that we, as we go along and create more keyframes to our structure, we're always gonna move this guy with us to so this is going to be too big. So at this point, when it just before it starts going off to create the tendril, we're gonna keyframe the radius for our light, and let's make it 70, and when it's going to be around this point, frame 38, let's make it 10, and let's hit refresh. So that are not good numbers at all, so let's select those and want to increase that, and perhaps it's a good idea at this point to add more segments as well, so we can see what we're doing. And yeah, we can increase that more. So about like 376, and here let's say 67. It's completely arbitrary. So here we've got our first tendril and going off this way, and is it too big at first? Like this is the size for our core, so we can reduce our core from here like so, and yeah, let's make it even smaller there. And sometimes it doesn't refresh, so hit Command Alt and front slash to empty the cache memory. So we got one nice little tendril going. And then let's go up to here and go to the next frame, and we can copy this around. So let's do that, and we also want to copy that. And make sure that it's there like that. And of course, let's go to this point and move our null object to the other side this time. And let's play around with the handles. Go to the top view, and let's make it towards the back like such. And always bring our keyframe. Where is our position keyframe? Let's bring it over here and let's refresh. So we've got something weird going on, and that's because, yeah, this guy here, we want to select it and click hold keyframe, because up to this point it goes to 34 and we want to stay small. So let's refresh, and then it's gonna stay at 34 all the way up to the end, and as it gets back it's gonna start off at 245 again and go up to here. And this one we can also make it a held keyframe like such. So we're starting to have our little pattern here. And if we want our tendrils to go further than that, we can simply take both these keyframes and move them around, refresh. So let's create a camera, Command Alt Shift C. Let's make it 50 millimeter, and let's make sure we're on our active camera so we can move around and check our little sculpture. And we have a problem here. We have what I call an orphan segment. So that's because as it goes back from the tip of our first tendrils right back to the center, there is one segment created on the course of that. So we want to make sure that right at this point it stays at 0. So we're gonna create another keyframe here, and we're gonna say be at 0 here. So let's hit refresh, and we lost our orphan guy here, because now we don't have any segments appearing in an unwanted place. So that's how our little pattern is going to be. So we can copy that here and make sure we repeat the pattern along. And these one also we can repeat those like such. Boom. And we can also make this one a held keyframe. Not that it's gonna necessarily change something, but it's gonna make it more easy visually to figure out what's doing what in our keyframes. And let's once again pick up the last keyframes and make sure that we grab our Tao move null and not the light and not anything else, and like I just did. So let's move our null object around, this time on this side. Make sure you got as much variation as possible, and let's go to the top view, and we can have our tendrils cross each other. That's might be cool to have. So let's bring our little guy here, and let's refresh. Our scaling is not happening on our last guy there, so we know that we can always copy this from there. Are we at the right place? Yeah, this. So yeah, we can copy that from there. So this, that. let's refresh. So we have our third tendril, and you can see the principle. We can go like this and keep it up. Move one keyframe forward by hitting page down, and bring our little guy, and copy our little pattern here. Make sure we're on the right place, and let's pick up our last guy here and move around. This time let's go like that. Woo! And oh, we're on the top already. Let's hit the perspective view, and let's hit refresh. So we got 4 tendrils now, and I say we can stop at 5. So let's create a last one, and let's make it so. Let's copy that, and oops. Also, we can hold U and get over here, page down, copy, get up to this guy here, copy that over there, move our position keyframe up to the last here, and we don't need it. Back to 0. That's our last one. So let's hit refresh, and also make sure that the position for our last keyframe is not the same as the previous one. So there, and we've got another tendril. Let's make it this one go down. Yeah. So Command Shift H to hide the layer controls, and that's our basic sculpture. We can increase the amount of segments now. So yeah, that's now they're all going towards the same direction. I just figured out. So we can get in the left view and see. Front view, and yeah, they're all going. Let's make this one like that, and like that. Oh yeah, they're touching, they're crossing, and let's do like that. So you can be careful that they don't go through each other, but it might be fun that they go near each other and they cross a little bit each other. It's gonna create some nice shadows. Whoops. It's gonna create some nice detail. So let's see. We can hit A twice on our light, and let's make it some kind of glowy orange, and then we can get over here, and if we can figure out the look, but I think that's gonna be for part 2, guys. Gonna see how we set it up to look real nice and cool, but yeah, I think that's a nice way that you can use null's hierarchy, like nulls and Tao lights, to create nice little patterns like this, and have it and at this point we can, like, if we want to add some wiggle in there, we can simply do that. Wiggle 120, and let's put more frequency, like let's put 2020, and yeah, you can have like you can make it a little bit more organic if you have the random a little bit of randomization on the position, like constantly. Let's increase our segments here. And there are some other way you can add randomness in there by going in the randomness section, and you can like alter some settings here. Have some little bit of randomness in the scale of them, and so yeah, that's one thing that you can do. And let's have it more offset. Like this is what we did at first, like where we offset the position of our light. Let's pick up both our keyframes, and it's gonna alter it, like change it a little bit how the core is and yeah, that's about it for part 1. Come back for part 2. We're gonna make it look even better, and we're gonna see how we can animate it and use dynamic depth of field. So thank you for watching, and see you next time.